Hello, hello, I warmly welcome you. I am David, and today we're going to check who is thinking about you at this moment. So I cordially invite you to a reading in which we will see what person currently has you on their mind, and also this may consequently mean that they have some plans or perhaps specific goals in relation to you. So we'll see who you currently have in mind and possibly also what comes to their head in connection with these thoughts. So whether these are some good thoughts or maybe bad ones, whether there's something nice or maybe something bad. So I cordially invite you to this reading. If it found you, it means it's worth listening to, and it is intended precisely for this moment in your life. So I cordially invite you. We'll see how it looks, and who currently has you on their mind, who is currently thinking about you. So let's see at the beginning who this person even is, and what energy they have, what character, to try to characterize this person in some way. We have Red Bull, and with it we have the Ace of Swords card. Quite interesting cards, quite unusual. First of all, what I associate with this is someone who rushes through life with quite a lot of determination or also clarity of mind. This person combines a strong will to act with quite a sharp, penetrating intellect, meaning this is not a person who sits and waits for something to happen by itself. Quite the contrary. When they make a decision, they move forward with such force that it's hard to stop them. They have within them the energy of someone who knows what they want and is not afraid to reach for it. At the same time, this is not blind pushing forward, but this person is guided by reason, logic, analyzes the situation before taking a step. They may give the impression of someone who has control over themselves and their surroundings, because that's actually the case. This is very masculine energy, decisive, at times even dominating. This person has likely recently gone through some kind of breakthrough in their life, or is currently in the midst of a major change, and whether they're talking about a new beginning on a mental level, a new truth, a new understanding of something that was previously unclear. Combined with rhythm, this gives the image of someone who has just awakened to something important, so perhaps they've understood something about themselves, about their life, or maybe about you, because this thought doesn't appear here by chance either. This new mental clarity drives them to action, so this isn't someone who stays in place with this knowledge, but immediately converts thoughts into movement, understanding into concrete steps. Energetically, this is someone who may be perceived as somewhat cold or distant because they operate mainly from the head level. Emotions are almost foreign to them. I mean, they are present, of course. I feel them strongly, but they've learned not to show this directly or generally to base their decisions or next steps on logic. This somehow reminds me of an image of someone, maybe a superior, maybe someone who currently has such a role in your life, let's say an atypically unemotional, atypically relational one, but more logical, thoughtful, where facts and concrete things count, not emotions. This can obviously also be a typically non-professional relationship, but a relationship where what currently matters more is what you can give each other, for example, rather than what emotions you have for each other. However, what's also important is that this person is someone who, at this moment, is thinking about you from a position of strength, meaning they're not thinking out of desperation or longing, but thinking because they've made an internal decision that they want to reach out to you in some way. Ridvan always talks about triumph and overcoming obstacles, while Smichi talks about a moment of enlightenment. So together, they create such an image of someone who has just understood something important, and now is gathering strength to move with it in your direction. And it's not hesitation, but rather it's gathering momentum before action. So you can also expect some action from this person's side, because it's such energy of understanding, which will result in this action. That's how I would describe it here. So let's see the most important characteristics of this person and what distinguishes them. We have judgment, and with it the Three of Wands. Okay, cards that primarily tell me about a person who, again, judgment is a breakthrough moment, while the Three of Wands is a card of looking into the distance. This is someone who evidently has some plan for you, who understood something and consequently planned something for your relationship, for your contact. Some transformation appeared in this person, or took place, and now this someone stands in a completely different place than some time ago. This is interesting because it kind of shows that in the last month, or perhaps in recent weeks, some exchange occurred in your relationship. Something changed very strongly, which makes the approach right now different, completely different. Judgment speaks of this, but so does the Ace of Swords. This is an approach that is primarily based on some facts, specifics, on what happened. For example, you gave something, so this person accepted it, registered it, and noted it as some concrete aspect of all this, a concrete factor that influences this whole equation regarding what to do with it next. However, in all this, the Three of Wands also appears, which is an interesting card in that it shows such a horizon. And here in this combination, I see such the most important characteristic of this person. There is a capacity for rebirth, meaning this person has something within them that allows them to fall and rise again, as if every difficult experience in their life only strengthens them. So this isn't about a superficial change in the style of, a new haircut or a new shirt, but rather this is a change at the soul level. Someone who has truly worked through their demons, faced their past, and drawn some conclusions from it. So in combination with this Three of Wands, this trait of rebirth takes on yet another dimension, that is visionary thinking. This is a person who not only got up, but stood up with a clear vision of what's next, where to now. Interesting, because this may show that some conversation you had recently, an exchange of views, even brief contact could have triggered concrete movements somewhere in this person's head and caused concrete conclusions to flow from all of this. I have the impression that there appears here some kind of extraordinary courage in taking on new challenges, decisions, meaning this person is not sitting in their comfort zone right now, and when they feel an inner calling, when something calls to them, they answer that challenge with their whole being. So this appears to be a person who is generally brave. This is interesting because here, this doesn't happen often, I'll say honestly, so all the more this is quite telling and characteristic, I would say. Such charisma, people who have gone through some fire and have within them a certain kind of charisma or character, that's hard to fake. So there's some interesting story sitting behind all of this, but I still have the impression that this is someone who isn't typically in your romantic sphere, but perhaps in some other sphere. It's such an acquaintance where you're just getting to know each other, just writing to each other, or someone at work. In any case, in recent weeks, they realize something that you have, what you may have been giving them, and how they want to use this in the coming weeks, what plan they have for this relationship for you. So, I won't hide it. Maybe he noticed something that is very important to him, something that is very necessary for him, so he looks at you through this prism. Through the prism of this one thing, for example. I mean, obviously, several other things probably contribute to this as well, but let's say he noticed something that is much more significant than the rest, I would say. So this is also someone who is hard to forget in a way, because precisely this charisma, this character I mentioned, is something that is very easy to remember and permanently remember. At the same time, the Three of Wands gives such leader energy, let's say, so all the more it reminds me of someone maybe who has such ambitions somewhere, or perhaps aspirations to be someone dominant, someone who very strongly influences relationships or generally their environment. So you might associate him with someone who is quite decisive, who wants to be part of decisions at least, or even the sole decision maker. This is a person who either has things their way or not at all. That's how I would direct this. This is the person you currently have in mind. So, this sounds quite interesting because it seems this is someone who made a decision about you and intends to act on that decision somehow. We have Temperance and the Moon in the 5th and 6th positions, meaning cards in the context of the question, who is this person in your life? What is your relationship now? Interesting cards showing that this person is someone in your life with whom you share a bond much deeper than it might seem on the surface. Temperance in the context of relationships speaks of a union of souls, of something that goes beyond ordinary acquaintance or even friendship. This is someone who entered your life not by accident, but because on an energetic level, your paths had to cross. Perhaps they play the role of someone who balances you, meaning where you are fire, they bring water. Where you have doubts, they give you peace. That's how I see it. However, the Moon also shows fog, so it's not as simple as it might seem. This is a card that casts a very specific light on this person, on this relationship. This person is present in your life, but at the same time surrounded by fog, so maybe at this moment you don't fully have this relationship, or this relationship is suspended, or something is happening around it that you don't understand. It's unclear. In the meantime, I'd like to invite you to the website arcanemoonshop.com. If you feel the need for a private reading, you have any questions for the cards, I invite you to arcanemoonshop.com. The link is also in the description, so you can click on it. Returning to the Moon, I have the impression that this is someone who may appear in your dreams. If you have any dreams, remember them, then perhaps this person appears there. Especially with the Temperance, it may mean that they appear in such a role indeed. For example, I don't know, something happens in a dream, a house is on fire, or you're running away from a monster, and suddenly this guy appears who kills the monster. or something like that. So quite symbolic, but still I think it's worth noting also in the context of dreams, which are often a conduit of our emotions, or what we're living through, or the subconscious. Maybe intuition can also be mentioned here, because dreams and intuition somewhere in these areas are always connected. However, I actually feel that this is a person who somewhat soothes what may be happening in everyday life, but at the same time dominates. So it's such a damn explosive combination, I would say. So let's see what is currently happening between you and what your relationship looks like at this moment. This will give us, I think, a lot of information that will be very clear. We have the Sun and we have the High Priestess. The cards, which in my opinion show that on one hand there is the energy of the Sun between you, meaning joy, warmth, light, something that draws you to each other in a natural and almost childishly simple way. When you are in each other's company, it's light, it's good. There's something in the air that makes the world seem brighter. This person, when close to you, blooms, feels like themselves, feels safe. This connection is quite strong. So even if you're not in contact, even if the relationship is currently somewhat weaker or precisely shrouded in fog, unclear in a certain way, you can still feel that this connection is quite strong. Hence, these thoughts are obviously not coincidental. It's not like some random guy who saw you once is thinking about you, but rather someone who actually has some bond with you, who feels this connection very strongly. Here we're only missing the star card, which would show precisely such a connection, which is always associated with such an illuminated connection. But we have the Sun, we have the High Priestess, which are also such cards. The Sun is a very happy card, while the High Priestess or Priestess introduces to this radiance such an element of deep mystery and silence, which may indicate all the more that currently this relationship has no contact, that this is some relationship from the past. Regardless of whether from the past or present, there may be no contact here, there may be no conversations, or the relationship is somehow currently suspended, this person is currently thinking very strongly here. What's more, they have some plan of action. Remember that I said there's the Chariot here, there's the Six of Swords, so we must constantly keep in mind that this person has thought something through, has realized something, and this is quite significant. He has some kind of plan for himself. He wants perhaps to harmonize this fog a bit. We have Temperance and Moderation, which is such a rescuer card in this place, as I'm talking about these dreams, perhaps in this case precisely. Something wants to clarify, to brighten something, and to break through this fog that appears in the moon. This would fit quite well, particularly with the Sun, if after this fog the Sun comes out, which is bright. But we still have the High Priestess all the time, so it won't be that everything will be clear here. Rather, a part perhaps of the unknowns, a part of unclear things, a part perhaps the one where it's unclear what's next with this relationship will become clearer. However, we actually have someone who generally currently rather stays silent. Currently rather this contact is somehow broken, severed, suspended, which means there is no contact or it's weak. This is what the Priestess indicates to me. However, in all of this, there is a lot of joy, a lot of such warmth that the Sun gives. So perhaps something is awakening here somewhere. Such, dawn. The Sun is slowly becoming visible, but it's still not fully bright yet. So something is still being revealed here, and perhaps in the coming days perhaps rather certainly you will witness this. Either way, regardless of what comes out here, you will be, so to speak, a first-hand witness of this. Alright, let's see then the last card, the 9th one, the closing one, to have a certain spread, full knowledge. A card that speaks a bit more generally about how you'll recognize this person. We have the Page of Cups, so quite a very accurate card. Well, it obviously shows a man, shows someone who reaches you with a feeling you don't expect. So this is some damn, I'd say a return, honestly. Besides the fact that, we have an image of a person who is silent, who is currently thinking about this, who is silent, I have the feeling that some kind of return is coming out in this reading. Yes, very, very strongly, this kind of return arrangement is formed for us, damn, I have the feeling. Especially after these cards, Aces, Swords, or Judgment, which are cards of strong awakening. And this fits quite well with Redvan, with the Three of Wands, which show action, which show a plan, and with that little angel, with that plumber, who is fixing something somewhere that is currently foggy. So prepare yourself for a gesture that is connected with emotions. Earlier I said that there are no emotions here, but actually, it's more about the awakening that's arising here. So looking at all the cards, I see someone who will contact you at an unexpected moment, who returns after a longer silence. or who for the first time breaks the barrier and reaches out to you. Because the page is always a messenger, so this person may literally come to you with a message, with a confession, with an invitation, or a proposal to meet. So I think it would be someone like, well, I don't know, already after Valentine's Day, but it's like some admirer here. So this looks interesting. This could be a return, but it could also be silence that was there because, for example, they were afraid, and now this silence stops. They stop maintaining this silence and start talking. They start saying what they feel, or maybe more willingly inviting, confronting what's in their head. It won't be grand or loud, it will be quiet and full of feelings. When this happens, you'll feel in your heart that this is exactly the moment the cards are talking about. It will also generally be hard not to see, to miss, well, because this is quite significant, that here we see such very practical, meaningful moments. That is some message meeting, we have a breakthrough, we have movement after silence or quiet, so this isn't something that can be missed, so quite nice, a delicate gesture. Besides the fact that we know who's thinking about it, we also kind of know that you should expect a subtle gesture that will reveal these people in practice. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening until the end. I invite you to arcanemoonshop.com if you need a private reading. For now, thank you, and I wish you a wonderful day and all the best. Talk to you later. Hey,